Have you ever walked into your home, looked around, and everything seemed fine? The floor's swept, the counters are clear, the bed is made. By all appearances, it's clean. But somehow, something still feels off. Maybe it's a faint smell in the air you can't quite place. Maybe it's the way the light hits a surface and reveals a soft layer of dust. Or maybe it's just a feeling in your gut that this house, your home, isn't quite as fresh or peaceful as it could be. And let me tell you, if you've ever felt that, you're not being fussy. You're tuned in. You're right. It happens to so many of us. We keep up with the laundry, the vacuuming, the dishes. We do our part. But even with all that effort, the air can feel heavy. The energy isn't light. The rooms don't feel quite as inviting. And you wonder, am I missing something? The truth is yes. But it's not your fault. It's easy to miss, because what we're talking about today are the forgotten places. The spots in your home that don't scream for attention, but quietly collect dust, germs, and even energy that weighs the whole house down. And the funny thing is, once you start paying attention to these spots, just a few at a time, everything starts to shift. The house feels lighter. It smells cleaner. It breathes better. So today, we're going to have a little heart-to-heart about 10 of the most overlooked spots in your home that might be keeping it from feeling truly clean. Not just tidy on the surface, but truly refreshed from the inside out. And don't worry, this isn't about scrubbing on your hands and knees for hours. These are simple steps, small changes, and thoughtful touches. The kind of cleaning that feels more like self-care than hard labor. Let's start with something that's hiding in plain sight. Doorknobs and light switches. Think about how many times you touch those in a single day. You get out of bed, flip the light on. You open the bathroom door, close it. You go into the kitchen, into the garage, into the bedroom. Your hands are everywhere. And yet, when was the last time you wiped those handles down? Most people don't realize just how much grime builds up on those little surfaces. They seem clean because they're small, and we're used to seeing them. But over time, they collect oils from our hands, bits of dust, germs, and all kinds of invisible dirt. And the worst part? We carry that from room to room, person to person, without even noticing. A woman once told me her grandson would sneeze every morning when he woke up, like clockwork. They thought it was just allergies. But one week, she started wiping down the light switch and doorknob in his room every Sunday. And the sneezing? It stopped. That's all she changed. Now, maybe it was coincidence, but I happen to think those little things matter more than we give them credit for. All it takes is a soft cloth, a bit of disinfectant, or even a mix of vinegar and mild soap. Just a gentle wipe once a week, especially in the high-traffic areas like the bathroom, kitchen, and bedrooms. Don't overthink it. Don't rush it. Just move with care. Because when you clean those small touch points, you're not just cleaning for appearance. You're showing care for yourself and the people who walk through those doors with you. It's a quiet kind of love. Now let's move just a few steps into the living room. Picture your favorite chair, your soft blanket, maybe a cup of tea on the table beside you. You reach for the remote without even thinking. It's second nature. You flip through the channels, adjust the volume, maybe fall asleep with it still in your hand. And if you're like most people, you might even have a snack nearby. Popcorn, crackers, something sweet. But here's a little secret. That remote control? It's one of the dirtiest things in the entire house. I know. It doesn't look dirty. That's the tricky part. But between the oils from our fingers, the crumbs from our snacks, and the occasional cough or sneeze that floats its way over, it becomes a magnet for bacteria. I knew a woman who said her den always had this strange, stale smell. She vacuumed. She shampooed the carpet. She even tried plug-in air fresheners. Nothing helped. Then one day, she cleaned the remote, really cleaned it, and found grime in the buttons she hadn't seen in years. And just like that, the smell vanished. It's so simple. Remove the batteries first, just to be safe. Then take a cloth with a little rubbing alcohol, nothing too wet, and wipe it all down. Get into the little nooks with a cotton swab. If someone's been sick in the house, do it more often. It takes 2 minutes, maybe 3. But the difference? Oh, you'll feel it. Your living room won't just look clean, it'll feel clean. Like a fresh start right from your favorite chair. And if we're already looking down at where we sit, take a moment to glance a little lower. No, not the floor, just above it. The baseboards. Those quiet wooden lines that trace every wall, every corner. You don't really notice them, do you? And that's exactly the problem. Over time, they collect dust, pet hair, crumbs, even kitchen grease. It settles there quietly, just beneath our line of sight, but not beneath our lungs. You might mop the floor every week, vacuum twice, wipe the counters daily. But if your baseboards are lined with a fine film of dust, it's going to float up into the air every time someone walks by. It affects the way your house smells. It affects how the air feels. One woman told me she always felt like the air in her home was thick. Not dirty exactly, just heavy. It wasn't until she wiped down her baseboards that everything started to feel lighter. The difference was almost emotional. And the best part is, this one isn't hard either. Just run a vacuum along the edge with a brush attachment. Then take a damp cloth, nothing fancy, and give them a gentle wipe. Use a bit of dish soap if you'd like, or a wood-safe cleaner if your boards are stained. Focus on corners and doorways. That's where the buildup really gathers. You don't have to do the whole house in a day. One hallway, one room. Let it be a slow rhythm, not a chore. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. Because that's the thing, isn't it? These little tasks, these tiny touches, they're not just about wiping away dust. They're about caring, about noticing, about saying, this home matters. I matter. The people who come here matter. And when we treat our space with that kind of quiet attention, it gives something back to us. Peace, freshness, comfort. So as we keep going, let's keep that spirit in mind. Not rushing, not trying to be perfect, just listening, noticing, making small, thoughtful changes that lift the whole space and lift us too. We've already uncovered a few of those sneaky little spots that hide dust and dirt in plain sight. And maybe by now, you're already glancing around your room a little differently, catching those edges, eyeing that light switch you haven't wiped in a while. That's good. Awareness is the beginning of change. And speaking of small things that carry a big impact, let's walk with me into the kitchen for a moment. Think about how many times a day your hands reach for the kitchen cabinets. Maybe to grab a spoon, open the drawer for the foil, or pull out your favorite coffee mug in the morning. These actions are so automatic, we barely register them. But here's the problem. We do all kinds of things before we reach for those handles. We chop onions, handle raw meat, stir a pot of sauce, or butter a slice of bread. And without thinking, we touch the cabinet handles in between. What happens over time is a slow, invisible buildup. Oil from your fingers, tiny food splatters, dust floating through the air. It all settles on those handles, especially the ones we use the most. One viewer once told me she had beautiful white cabinets, but they had started to look yellow and dingy. She figured it was just age and wear. But after giving the handles and surrounding wood a good clean, with nothing more than dish soap and warm water, she was stunned. Her cabinets looked bright again, like they'd taken a deep breath. So here's something simple you can do. Grab a cloth, some warm soapy water, or even a mix of vinegar and water if you prefer natural cleaning. Gently wipe the handles, and if there are little grooves or textures, use an old toothbrush to get into those spots. Don't feel like you need to do the whole kitchen in one go. Pick half this week, the other half next. Keep it easy. Keep it doable. This isn't about a marathon clean. It's about little actions, spread out with care. And since we're already in the kitchen, let's talk about something very close to your mouth. but rarely thought of. The toothbrush holder. It sits there on the bathroom counter, quietly doing its job. We brush our teeth, rinse, maybe give the holder a passing glance. But do we ever clean it? Most people don't. And yet, it's one of the germiest spots in the house. All that moisture from a wet toothbrush, little splashes from the sink, and yes, even invisible particles from the toilet if it's nearby, they all land there and stay there. It creates a perfect home for mold, mildew, and bacteria. I remember one grandmother who wrote in and said her new toothbrush started to smell funny after just a few days. She thought maybe it was the brush itself. But when she looked inside the holder, she found a layer of brown sludge at the bottom. That was the real culprit. Once a week is all it takes. Rinse the holder with hot water and a little dish soap. Use a sponge or small brush to scrub the bottom. If you spot any black mold or slimy buildup, soak the whole thing in a bit of bleach and water for a few minutes, then rinse well. Let it dry completely before putting the toothbrushes back in. And here's a little tip. Don't put your brush back in when it's still dripping wet. Let it air dry first, and keep the brushes from touching if you store more than one. Now take a step toward the front of your home with me. That welcome mat outside your door, it's sweet, it's familiar, it's probably been there a while. But let's be honest. When was the last time you cleaned it? Most people don't give it a second thought. But it's the first thing you, and everyone else, steps on before walking into the house. And that means it's carrying everything from the outside world into your living space. Dirt, pollen, bits of grass, city grime, and yes, maybe even bacteria from who knows where. One woman told me her living room always had a faint, wet dog smell. She didn't have any pets, couldn't figure it out. Then she realized it was the doormat. It had soaked up months of moisture and dirt, and it was quietly spreading that scent into the whole room. She gave it a deep clean, let it dry in the sun, and just like that, the smell was gone. Here's the easy fix. Every few days, give your mat a good shake outside. Once a week, vacuum it thoroughly, both sides. And once a month, if it's washable, give it a proper bath with soap and water. Hang it out in the sun afterward. Sunlight is a wonderful natural cleaner. It helps dry it out completely and kills off lingering bacteria. If your mat isn't washable, just spray it down with a disinfectant or vinegar mix and wipe it clean. These things don't take long, but the difference they make in how your home smells and feels is almost immediate. The front entrance is like the handshake of your house. It gives the first impression. And when it's clean, everything that follows feels just a bit more welcoming. Let's pause for a second here. Take a look around your space, wherever you are right now. Maybe it's the living room, maybe the kitchen, or a cozy corner where you like to sit and relax. As we talk through these places, you might start noticing little things, a smudge here, a dull handle there, a dusty edge near the floor. That's a good sign. It means you're seeing with fresh eyes. And that's what a clean home really begins with. Not just soap or sprays, but attention. The goal here isn't to turn your house into a showroom. It's to turn it into a sanctuary. A place where the air feels light, where your shoulders drop a little when you walk in, where nothing feels hidden or ignored. And that starts with remembering the spots most people forget. Now that we're standing in the entryway with fresh eyes and a cleaner welcome mat, let's wander back into the kitchen together. Not far, just over to the refrigerator. You might not realize it, but that fridge handle you touch multiple times a day, it's one of the grimiest spots in your entire home. We don't think about it because it looks harmless. Maybe you wipe the front of the fridge every now and then, get rid of fingerprints on the stainless steel or smudges on the surface. But the handle, especially if it's textured or has grooves, tells another story. Over time, oils from our hands, splashes from the sink, bits of food, and even grease from cooking can all collect there. And since we often reach for the fridge while we're prepping food or after handling meat or sticky snacks, those germs build up fast. There was one woman who told me she was ready to replace her fridge. said it looked old and lifeless, like it had just given up. But one afternoon she gave the handle a proper cleaning, used a soft cloth, some vinegar, and a little elbow grease. When she stepped back, she couldn't believe it. The fridge didn't need replacing. It just needed someone to care for it again. It's simple. Every few days, wipe down the handle with a cloth and a gentle cleaner. If it's stainless steel, go with something designed for metal so it doesn't streak. For stubborn grime, a soft toothbrush works wonders to lift out the dirt from the edges. And don't forget to wipe near the rubber seals on the side of the door. That's where moisture and crumbs love to hide. Now, let's move toward the windows for a moment. Not the glass. You're probably already in the habit of wiping that down once in a while. I'm talking about the tracks. The little grooves where the window or sliding glass door glides open and closed. If you haven't looked closely at them in a while, you might be in for a surprise. Dust, pollen, dead bugs, sand, even mold. They love hiding in these tracks. And it doesn't matter how clean the window itself is. If the groove underneath is black with grime, it'll affect how the air flows, how the window opens, and how fresh the space feels. One man I knew had lived in the same home for over 15 years and had never once touched the window tracks. When he finally peeked into them, he was shocked. Layers of thick dust and mildew packed in tight. After a deep clean, not only did his allergies improve, but his sliding windows finally moved like they were supposed to. Imagine that, just from noticing something most people never look at. All you need is a dry brush to loosen the debris. An old toothbrush is perfect. Then vacuum it out with a narrow nozzle. Next, dip a cloth or wrap it around a butter knife, dampen it with a little vinegar and water, and work it through the grooves. You don't have to scrub it perfect. Just wake it up. Freshen it. Let it breathe again. And since we're on the subject of things we don't often see but definitely feel, let's take a walk into the bathroom. You know, it's funny. Of all the rooms in the house, we probably associate the bathroom with cleanliness the most. We shower, we wash, we brush, and freshen up. But underneath all that surface effort, there's one part that quietly builds up all kinds of unpleasantness: the drain. Whether it's in the shower or the floor of the bathroom, that drain catches everything. Hair, soap scum, oils from our skin, and all the little bits that slide away when we think we're washing it all down. Over time, it turns into a sticky, smelly sludge. And the worst part? It stays there, just below the surface. So your bathroom can look clean, smell clean even, but there's this faint musty odor that just never quite leaves. I remember a viewer who said she kept her bathroom spotless. She lit candles, scrubbed the toilet, even washed the rugs. But that smell persisted. One day she took a closer look at the shower drain, removed the cover, and there it was, a thick buildup of hair and dark gunk. Once she cleaned it out and flushed it with baking soda, vinegar, and boiling water, the bathroom smelled fresh for the first time in months. It's an easy routine. Once a week, remove any visible hair or buildup. Pour a kettle of boiling water down the drain to loosen what's inside. Then add a bit of baking soda followed by white vinegar and let it fizz. Wait 10 minutes. Finish with another rinse of hot water. And if it's been a while or the smell is stubborn, there are enzyme-based cleaners that do wonders without harming your pipes. Let's take a deep breath here. Really. Inhale. Exhale. Now imagine that breath in a house where the air feels light, not weighed down by hidden grime. Where your kitchen doesn't smell like last month's cooking oil. Where your toothbrush isn't living in a moldy puddle. Where your windows slide with ease and your fridge handle greets you with a clean grip. That's the kind of home you're building. Not just neat, not just tidy, but truly clean. There's one last place I want to take you. It's somewhere you might be sitting right now. Look to your left or right. Is there a lamp nearby? Maybe a table lamp next to your recliner? Or a reading light beside the bed? When was the last time you cleaned it? Lamps and lampshades collect dust silently. They sit there, casting their soft glow, and we rarely pay them any mind. But over time, That layer of fine dust dims the light, mutes the atmosphere, and stirs in the air each time you turn on the fan or brush past. I knew a man who thought his favorite reading lamp was going out. He even replaced the bulb, but the light still felt dull. Then one day, he ran a dry cloth over the lampshade. That's all it took. The glow came back. The room lit up again. Turns out it wasn't the bulb. It was the dust. Every couple of weeks, just take a soft brush or microfiber cloth and give your lampshade a gentle sweep. If it's fabric, a lint roller works wonders. If it's glass or plastic, wipe it down with warm water and a bit of soap. And if the lamp sits high or is tricky to reach, always be safe. Use a steady step stool and turn off the power before touching anything. That's the beauty of it, really. These aren't complicated things. You don't need a bucket of chemicals or hours of scrubbing. You just need presence, attention, a willingness to look at what's been overlooked. Because cleaning, when it's done with care and intention, isn't just about hygiene. It's about love. It's about energy. It's about creating a space that doesn't just look nice but feels safe, fresh, and deeply yours. And the best part? You don't have to do everything today. Pick one spot that surprised you. Just one. Take 5 minutes and give it a little love. And then maybe next week, pick another. Let it become a quiet rhythm in your life, not a burden. And I'd love to hear from you. What part of your home have you been overlooking? Which of these small changes are you excited to try? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this video brought you a moment of clarity or peace, I hope you'll tap that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Strong Elderly Life for more insights just like this. Because here's the truth. Real wisdom doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from noticing what others miss and doing it with heart. Here's to a home that breathes with you, one little step at a time,